Yo guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the NDD Games YouTube channel. I'm going to discuss some theory on some Swordsoul. It's quite a popular deck right now, and every time I go on YouTube, every time I go to tournaments, I always see people playing different versions. There isn't really like a version where I've seen everyone play. Obviously, the Tenyi version is the most popular version, which we'll cover, but we're also going to cover a couple of more versions of the deck. Give my thoughts, and I want to hear your thoughts as well. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll do my best to answer any questions, as well as any feedback as well. So, yeah, like I said, Swordsoul, super popular deck right now, but I think there's a couple of versions that you could play, and we're just going to discuss those, see which one's the best. So, yeah. Alright, first one is the Tenyi variant. So this is one that I've been playing the most at the moment. I've played all the versions that I'm showing here, but this is the one I'm playing at the moment. I've probably played the most as well. But I think I'm live on Twitch right now, and like I said at the start of my stream, every time I go to an event, I play a different version of this deck. Who's to say I won't play this deck at a next event, but it's a very versatile engine, and you can splash a lot of cards around it. So we'll discuss the first version, which is the Tenyi version. Hand traps are only playing 5, so 3 impermanents and 1 Ash and 1 Veiler. So these 2 cards are searchable off Xiaofeng. So I didn't want to play too many hand traps. I'd rather cards like Dark Ruler. It's not very good going first, but if you go first anyway, you should have enough to stop your opponent. And then if you survive, you should always give yourself a follow-up, either through Shishao or the Tenyis, and then Dark Ruler is just a way to break your opponent's board. So yeah, good question, Travara. Appreciate you joining the stream as well. So obviously the searchable Xiaofeng, we could play the Crossout, but I didn't have a space for it, and Ash and Veiler aren't like the best targets against this deck, because Xiaofeng turns off lights, and Veiler's pretty much dead unless they Veiler your Baxia, which isn't the best player a lot of the time. Ash can sometimes hurt on the emergence if you go for Protoss, but yeah, you could certainly play Cross Out, but I still have the space for it, to be honest. And then next for the engine, I think the rest of it's really standard. 3 Ecclesia, 3 Mogi, 3 Longyan, and 2 Tai. I think 2 is pretty standard right now. I've seen people play 1, 2, but we're playing Desires. And you could play with 1, but I think 2 is nice to have with Desires, because you want to see it in the grind. And then Tenyis we're playing 3 Ashuna, 3 Vishuda, and 2 Adara. So Adara is actually the worst one, but we kind of want to see Tenyi names. So we also play Vessel as well, which I'll cover in a minute. You could play with 1, absolutely, but it doesn't do enough on its own to justify playing 3 of it. But you need it for the Baxia plays, and it can, once you get 1 copy engraved, that's absolutely all you need, because you can recur back your worms with its inherent effect as well. And then we play Protoss. The main reason to play this card right now is Swordsoul. Playing Swordsoul, sorry, is the main reason. This deck's good because of the Protoss, basically. It's the most unfair cards in the deck. I think the deck's really fair. It does feel the engine's quite fair. How it plays is really fair. So I feel like Protoss is the most unfair card in the deck, and yeah, it's pretty good. I made it because most of the time at regionals you can see what people are playing, and even if you're in a situation where you have to blind call Dark, that's not even a bad thing, because it turns off Dragoon, DPE. So yeah, but in the mirror match, you just make this, and you make a Cheng Ying, and you call Water. Cheng Ying to protect himself, then you've slocked your opponent out of tokens for the mirror match. So yeah, really good cards. Obviously you get Phantom Knights, it's just insane. Next is 3 Emergence. I don't think you play less than this. Summer, which some people cut, but I like it because it allows you to play around Nibiru. If you predict or presume your opponent has a Nibiru, the way their body language or the questions they're asking, you just play it safe and go Shishao effect, add it, and then if you do Nibiru you can just special summon back the Shishao and have a follow-up negate. And then Vessel, I like the Tenyis. I think the Tenyis is the best part about this particular build, because they give you a level 8 synchro without normal summoning, and yeah, Yeah, really good card, and the fact that I like it, like having the extra worm in hand, it always means that you can trigger off Moe in the grind game, trigger off a long yarn if you top deck one, or you search one off the emergence or Shishao. So yeah, it's like it sucks when you open this and like no other Tenyi's, because you have to get the token on field, and then by that time you've already got a effect monster on the field, so you can't really like do Tenyi plays. But it's an extra worm in hand, so it's not the end of the world. Plus you can ditch like a shooter for follow up, or a shooter depending on what your hand is. 3 desires. I think just desires is just the best at pot, because like in theory you can just draw 3 cards like during the turn. Mogi 1, desires 2, and drawing 3 cards does in theory sound really good. So I wanted to play desires. Like the situations where you banish a lot of good cards, like situation where I banished both my Adaras and a Protos, but if your hand's unplayable and you have to play it, just do it, because otherwise you're gonna lose anyway. So that's why I do this. Dark Ruler, like I said, like previously, I think this is probably better. Like I went through a cursed stage of winning 2 dice rolls in 15 rounds, so I was like, what's good going second? I don't really like mind seeing in the grind game. It's a Dark Ruler, because if you top deck it and your opponent's got a set up board, this does a lot more than hand trap. So yeah, and like sometimes I feel like you don't need to play this card. If you feel like you can break your opponent's board and kill them, like I wouldn't play this card. But it like sometimes it sucks that you can't kill your opponent. Otherwise, this card would be broken if your opponent took damage. But it sucks that you can't like OTK your opponent following this. But yeah, 2 blackout because we play desires, and I like the second trap. I think the trap's really good. Some people play one of this, but I like the trap. I think generically it's quite good, to be honest. The fact when you set up this in a Sheng Ying, you can attempt to destroy it, protect itself, and then trigger the Ice Dragon Prison effect in Cheng Ying, which is pretty good. And then when Imperial Laws, because it's just a mine out, and like sometimes you just draw this card, it's just a free win. So yeah, and I like free wins, so Imperial Laws is pretty good. I'm not going to go too crazy about the side deck and extra deck, because I've got some other decks I want to discuss in this video. So yeah, just like side deck's pretty standard: hand traps, cosmics, evenlies, anti-spells. Opting to play the 3rd monk because it gives you a better grind game, and there's nothing else I'd rather play. Like maybe Crimson Blader, but again, Mirror like doesn't really come up because you're always like trying to break your opponent's board. So next deck is the DPE version. So this version I was playing originally, but then I found it was like a little bit worse than the Tenyi's, but I think if played right, it can do as well as the Tenyi's in my opinion, because you still play like a shooter and stuff. Sorry, for shooter. So you play a little bit more hand traps. You play the 3 Imperm, 3 Ash, and 1 Veiler. Again, Veiler searchable. So is Ash. So you want to play a few more hand traps. You have a bit more space because you don't play the Tenyi's. Then Celestial on its own is like really good. And also for anyone that's learning this deck, the interaction is where you DP send itself or destroy itself. Ecclesia is second effect, which a lot of people forget. If a fusion monster is during the end phase, if a fusion monster was sent to your graveyard this turn, you get to add Ecclesia back to your hand. So it's naturally a really, really good follow-up. So yeah, 2 prosperity because it's good to like dig for your engine. Again, it turns off Mogi. You could play Desires if you really want to. And we have quite a few targets to banish and stuff as well. So it's not like you need to play this card. If you want to play budget or not play prosperity, Desires is fine. Just make sure you do it after everything. Like if you have to do Desires, then Desires. But I'd rather do it after I do everything. And obviously the Fusion Destiny package as well, Protos, because we still want to main this card. You could side it, but I feel like it's nice to main because it's so searchable and it's always live if you need it. So droplets, because a lot of like so you can play Dark Ruler, but I feel like droplets is slightly better in this deck because you can enable like more damage and you can like TP pop some more stuff as well. Yo, thanks for following, bro. Appreciate it. But yeah, a few droplets. You could play Dark Ruler, but yeah, still sacking the Call of the Grave. Yeah, so Call of the Grave is a sacky one if you See it, it's really good. Summit still, and then IO. So that's the DPE version. Any questions in the comments, just let me know. And then the last version is the Go Second version. So this is the version I was on about at the start of my stream. I think it's just like a version that or a way to play this deck. It's just like I opt to go second. I'll break your board, and then make my own board, and then negate your follow up. So I sometimes feel like evenly matched isn't the best way to play this deck because you want to use battle phase, you want to do damage. Some situations you can just flat out OTK your opponent if they end on like a suboptimal board. That's what I feel like sometimes playing a lot of hand traps in this deck is really good because if your opponent ends on like a suboptimal board, this deck can OTK out absolutely nowhere. So yeah, I like going second sometimes, but yeah, evenly matched. I'd rather break minus my opponent 4 cards to off 1 card than OTK them, to be honest. Even if I know I can't OTK them. So yeah, Dark Ruler again, insane comes second, and then 2 Lightstorm and Duster. Yeah, I don't think anything's too different from this deck, apart from the Summit that we cut, because Summit's quite bad going second. And then besides in the Protoss as well, for going first, and then as well as the anti-spells. So that's it for the decks. These are the versions that I'm playing at the moment, but if you have any questions, comments, let me know, and I'll see